boys, listening to the Grit on Thursday the 6th. Tools to live by. This numbnut trying to squeeze another surf trip out of his life. I've got a better tool to live by. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. This guy gets away once a year to surf trip with his buddies. You better count his blessings right there. His marriage gets a little long in the tooth. He starts to do 15, 20, 25 years of marriage. That boat doesn't sail anymore. You start having kids, responsibilities. Unless this is Scott Bass, because that dude goes on surf trips like 4 times a year. But this guy, tools to live by, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, buddy. Work.
Good advice.
Great advice. I mean, don't look a gift horse in the mouth is advice we need to hear time and time again. I don't think you can hear that bit of advice too much.
You know what that saying means?
Yeah, do you?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to share with our dear listeners what not looking a gift horse in the mouth means?
Well, that was the measure of the horse's health. I probably still is, but back in the day, it certainly was. And so if you were going to sell a horse, the buyer would, of course, look into the mouth to identify if the horse is healthy or not. So if someone's giving you a horse for free, it would be rude to then check to see the horse's health. You just accept the gift.
Exactly.
But it's funny to refer to marriage like a prison sentence, by the way. When you start doing 10, 15, 20, and you could hear the desperation in his voice.
That ship sails, man.
But so this is the crux. He is entirely right. Firstly, don't look a gift, like just be grateful that you get a surf vacation. How dare you try to squeeze another one out of your wife? However, the opposite is also true. This caller feels like he's given up on life. And that could be because you're just grateful for what you got. You should always be pushing for a little bit more, striving for excellence. But there's a delicate balance there.
I mean, another metaphor, shoot for the moon, hit the stars. David Lee Scales is, you've got to be, that is totally true. If you give up, if you give the fight up, then you're done and dusted. You will not only, like, if you give up, things are not going to stay as they are. The battle lines get pushed back, right? Like you start losing ground if you stay. There's no such thing as stasis. You got to be pushing forward or falling back.
So it comes down to perspective. And the email from last week that he was referring to, we don't understand the guy's tone. Maybe we would understand his tone and his perspective better if he called in instead of emailed, but it could be he's fully grateful for the vacation and the surf trips that he currently has, but he also understands he can kind of game the system and get more out of it, and his wife will enjoy it too. And it's all part of like a fun, way to maximize the fun in life.
Exactly.
Not out of being ungrateful. Anyways, this is the Grit. It is June 14th, 2024. Chas Smith, welcome to the show.
If you can believe it, June 14th. This snuck up on us so quick this summer.
It really has. We say it almost every show. Time flies. Can't believe it.
That's so true. We are on episode 3,429.
Going on 6,000. By the way, this show today, we are solving relationship problems. Usually once every 2 or 3 shows, opportunity presents itself for us to help somebody out. But sometimes a theme, almost as if there was a cosmic unifying force guiding everybody's thoughts and ideas, a theme coalesces into a Friday show. And the theme of this show is relationship advice.
It's where we're best, to be honest. And let's also be honest that I feel there has been a Dr. Phil-sized hole in good relationship advice. I feel Dr. Phil used to provide good relationship advice at some point in his life, and then Dr. Phil just became weird. Dr. Philly, right? Well, like nobody who listens to Dr. Phil anymore. And so there's a giant hole of relationship advice that just, where do people go? I feel they come to us.
Is he still on TV?
I saw him. He just was, I think he does a podcast now. And he just had someone, he just made news again for something. I can't remember if he said something controversial or if, what was it? It was maybe Trumpy. I can't
Mm.
remember. It was something like he was going to vote for Trump or something like that.
Um, he is a weird dude. I mean, I've joked or talked about Rob Dyrdek and how weird he's gotten,
Yep.
which, by the way, I don't bring up often enough, but almost every single week I get fed his Instagram post of his motivational speaking, and I want to discuss it on the show. I'll save it on my phone and I'll be like, okay, this is going to go into the show notes at some point, and then I never actually do. But he has gotten so crazy. But Dr. Phil is an even better, bigger example of it. Like, he is farcical at this point, almost a caricature. He's not even a doctor, first of all. And you're right. There was a moment in time, maybe when he first got discovered by Oprah, where it was like, he's pretty insightful. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting take on things.
It was like
But he jumped
homespun wisdom that was like,
it,
okay, well, sweet. It's like,
that's exactly what it was. Yeah. But 20 years ago, he jumped the shark and now he's like a buffoon.
I guess, and this is the problem. We shouldn't, I mean, today's show, and our relationship advice in general comes with great responsibility because
Sure.
it becomes the risk of you and I becoming Dyrdek-esque. I guess Dyrdek was never giving advice. Now he is, but we run the risk of becoming Dr. Phil, just farcical buffoons.
We really do. I think it has to do with money somehow.
Maybe I'll take it. If somebody, I will trade anything right now and become a farcical buffoon for, I'd probably do it right now for 2,500 bucks in the bank.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you know what? There's somebody listening right now who wants to leverage your profile for 2,500 bucks to turn you into
A
a
farcical
joke.
buffoon.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Okay. Um, but Dr. Phil, I remember seeing at some point, and this was probably 20 years ago, how much that guy was worth. And it was a crazy amount of money. It was like you hear like what actors make, and so and so's worth $80 million, and you're just like, wow, that's a lot of money. Dr. Phil was like $800 million. It was
Yeah.
like a crazy, crazy number.
That dude crushed. I wonder, did Oprah sit back and look at Dr. Phil and say, that was a good choice to elevate that dude. I picked the right one to make into a multi-millionaire with a big old platform.
I think she got her cut. Maybe not anymore, but I'm sure she got her cut along the early years. And so, yeah, that's all she cares about too.
I wonder, do you think that dear departed Eric Logan, because now for those listeners who don't know, is like, we've talked about it here, but his Substack, like he's leaning into that thing, right? Eric Logan is writing motivational Substack, how to be your best self CEO, 3 keys to breaking the whatever, like all of the cliche, any amount of cliche. And I will stumble across it, or sometimes I'll just go look on purpose. But then I'll wonder, like, I mean, obviously, who's reading that? But I don't think maybe people don't Google stuff anymore. Is that what it is? Because if you Google Eric Logan, basically the first page is Beach Grit stories making fun of him just for all of it, like,
Yeah.
getting fired and blah, 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 blah. So do people just get served his Substack and aren't curious enough to say, huh, let's search this up. Is Google a old person thing to do?
Might be. And I also now wonder if Google curates to your needs and your likes. Like, if somebody else Googled him who had never Googled anything surf related at all, would they get all the beach grit articles?
Could be, it could be, but maybe
I have
you
no
may be
idea.
right. Yeah, I don't
Um,
think so. I mean, I think that the feed does shift, but I don't think it shifts that much. I think that it's the stories that have been read still
yeah.
populate, and yeah, Eric getting fired from the World Surf League will be top of the search.
Yeah, I know there are services that exist that help you rebuild your reputation online. So he should invest in some of those and have him restack the Google rankings.
I could
Um,
try.
I remember we were talking when he first got fired about, he seemed like such a charlatan. I mean, he clearly was a charlatan,
Yeah.
but he was really professing to be a surfer and even if he came late, he embraced the lifestyle and he was pretending to be honest and earnest in it. And so when he got fired, one of us made the comment of, well, time will tell. Like, will he continue surfing? Will he continue posting photos of himself surfing? The evidence is in on that conversation. He has not posted anything surf related on his Instagram stories or elsewhere ever since. I
No,
don't read
he's
his Substack, so maybe he talks about surfing there, but from the outside looking in, it looks like he abandoned surfing as quickly as he got fired.
exactly. I mean, I think that he in his Substack stuff is like he uses surfing as the metaphor, like riding the wave of success or whatever, like everyone who does that kind of garbage does.
Yeah.
But yeah, there seems to be no, ongoing affair. Even though, but
Yeah.
didn't he buy or invest in some surfboard brand? What was it?
Yeah, he's got a couple of investments in the surf industry, but
Yeah.
they're small time. I mean, he's never going to make, even if he makes a profit on it, it won't be much.
Yeah.
Um, that reminds me, as much as I love William Finnegan, his contributions to surfing, I like reading his writing. I think it's entertaining, and I think he's a just great guy to have to identify as a surfer. I was totally disappointed in his title of that Jock Sutherland article. It was something to the effect of what you just made fun of. It was Surf Hero's Longest Ride or The
Yeah.
Longest Ride or something like that. And it was like, oh my God, that's the worst title I've ever heard.
I wonder if Finnegan does his titles or at the New Yorker, or if he has an editor who titles it up for him.
I can't imagine he came up with that one on his
I mean,
own.
it's a bad title. It's
Yeah,
like
it's just so cliche.
not only is it cliche, it like I didn't read that piece because I was bored by the title. Like I know
Yeah.
Jock Sutherland's a fascinating character and all that. The title bored me out of even beginning to read it.
Mm.
Yep, longest ride. Nope.
Misstep.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to open the show by congratulating you on your interview with Kolohe Andino.
Oh, thanks. How good is Kolohe Andino?
I like, I didn't know. I mean, I liked him more from that one interview. I learned more about him from that one interview than I have from following his career for 20 years and being fed his story through the lens of his sponsors and the WSL.
Kolohe is magic in I do not know honestly how he was him, how you're him and don't get totally affected. And he has
Mm-hmm.
never been affected. Like I've known Chloe as he brought up, he remembers our first 15. I met him when I was 15 or when he was 15. So that's 15 years ago. I have known Kolohe for half his life, right? Uh always. He knows me. Uh, you could have, I think, a lot of opinions about me or feelings about me if you're somebody in this, surf world, if you're Kolohe. He's only ever been like laughing and he's just great. Like he is a great dude, which I will credit Dino and Dino's wife. They really honestly raised a magnificent young man. And he's a fantastic father. Like being at the Andino house in the morning, like we shot that in the morning, rocked up. Family was going out to, I don't know, run errands, wife, and he has two kids, and they had like a cousin or something like that. But it was just that fun energy. Kolohe was out, I think, rehabbing or something, but came ripping up on his e-bike, and it was just like happy, hug, fun. He's a great dad. He's a great dude, and I really want his 2% to succeed.
Yeah, I thought he was great. It was like the first note that I made when watching that conversation was very early in the conversation. It was just, he is great.
Yeah,
You'd ask him a question, he would respond very honestly. And he was also really smart. He's smarter than I thought he
yeah,
would be for some reason. I don't know why I wouldn't think that he was smart, but he would absorb your question and really understand what you're trying to ask, and then give you a very articulate, honest response. Um, yeah, he had a really realistic view of like how the world perceives him, even, and that there's a lot of misunderstanding there. Um, I was curious, did you ask him anything about Eric Logan specifically or his thoughts on the WSL's management?
no, I was feeling, and he mentioned that he was going to do a pod with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was thinking we should either bring him on. I mean, you could either do yours with him or we bring him on here and I felt that this is only beginning. Like, I feel,
He wants to talk about it.
I think he not only wants to talk about it, I think he thinks, it's fun. Like, why not talk
Yeah.
about it, right? It's not like it's, not a pain for him like it is for some, when you interview some people and it's like they do it, they need to do it because they're promoting something, or, they just feel like I need to share this story or that story, but they don't enjoy it, right? I
Yeah.
feel Kolohe, it's fun. It's not taxing for him.
Good. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, and I mean, look, it'd be great if you could give us some insights into why Eric Logan actually got fired. But beyond that, I also am just curious if he felt like his career, was not like if it was mismanaged, if the WSL has mismanaged their job in putting the best surfers in the best waves, kind of a thing, so that he wasn't able to fully have the best career that he possibly could have.
We should ask him, but it does feel like he is very aware, as he mentioned, of being tight, being mentally tight. And so I don't know that being on better waves would have fixed that, right? I mean, maybe it
Yeah.
would have been if you could just go surf, because his talent is undeniable. Like, nobody looks at Kolohe Andino and says, you could maybe say that he was not like, I mean, I don't think people say he was overrated as a surfer. People might think that he got too many, sponsorships or something, or he was put as the face of competitive surfing and he was never a great competitive surfer. But I don't ever hear people say Kolohe doesn't surf that good, right?
No,
Like,
no.
Kolohe absolutely rips.
Phenomenal surfer with phenomenal fundamentals,
Hmm.
like you can't even criticize that. Um, it made me wonder why he never won a contest on the CT level. And it's something I've thought about in the past too. But one of the one of the thoughts or the answers I kind of walked away with after watching this was we might have just been overexposed to him. Like we know how good he surfed from long before he ever got on tour. And so there's just it's oversaturation and there's no excitement when he gets up and riding because we know what he can do. And by the way, if he doesn't fully blow us away, if he doesn't actually go over what we expect of him, his scores are going to be a little bit suppressed.
Which is an insane thing about not only surfing, but also skateboarding and snowboarding too. Like, is what jerks we are as viewers at home, where you see a phenomenal performance, and that becomes your baseline expectation for that person. And then
Yes, it
also the
does.
judges, like, I watch John surf, and if John is not surfing the best that anyone has ever surfed in the history of the world, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, it's pretty good. Like, and I mean, yeah, wife has a client, Jagger Eaton, who will be going to the Olympics. He'll be the first, Olympian skateboarder to do both park and street events, and he's a legit medal threat in both of them, which is unheard of. Like, the amount of the different kind of skating that is, and to be that good at both of them is crazy. But his judge or his scores will always be depressed because he's just that good, right? Where people
Yeah.
just the judges expect more out of him. He'll do a trick that has never been done before in competition and stick it and get a middling score. And then
Yeah.
other people will get better scores because, yeah, it's just the way it goes, I guess. You're always judged, even if people don't want to, you're judged against the expectation of what you can do.
Yeah, it's the limitation of the subjective judging format. Um, if you think of any of John John's waves at El Salvador, the event that he just won, he got one 10-point ride. But think about one of the ones that wasn't a 10-point ride, but was a really good wave, like an high eight or mid nine or whatever. His surfing on that wave, if you put Calum Robson in his place and Calum did the exact same surfing,
Would get a
Calum would get
10.
a 10.
Yeah. No,
But because it's John John, it's an 8.5.
yeah, and the judges have to, I feel they have to. Like, we can't just give everything a 10 for, John. And then again, judging John against John. Like,
Yeah.
that's why it's John, I suppose.
And it's just with Kolohe, we had so much exposure to him from his youngest years that it was just, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like maybe he didn't fully get his acknowledgement. And the same thing with Julian Wilson, by the way. Julian won a couple of events, but that Julian Wilson just dropped a new edit this past week, and I watched it and I was like, this is
He
clearly
surfs.
the best surfer who never won a world title. And he still could be on tour winning heats.
I mean, that's the funny thing though about Chloe and the exposure is, like, when he giggled and said, like, I'm only 30 or something to me, right? Like I have still a shot here to like to get back. I mean, 30 is not a old person for surfing, especially, right? I mean, how old is John's, what, 30 something, right?
I think they're about the same age. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 30 is not old in surfing, in
Not
competitive
anymore.
professional surfing. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think you just see these guys from the moment they're kids, right? I mean, Kolohe, what, we saw him since he was 8 or 9, probably. So he has been in our surf consciousness for a lifetime,
Yeah.
basically. And he's
Yeah.
not old yet. So I wonder if, and he addressed it on during the interview a bit too, but if fatherhood, if kind of a shifted perspective will loosen the tight brain, and if he does actually have another shot, right? If he does have a second life, he's
Well,
QSing
so what's your thought on that? He said his goal was to
Olympics.
re-qualify and then make the Olympics in 2028 and then retire after the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that being absurd. Like, I think he was surfing really, really good at that QS in at Snapper. Did he get hurt? I mean, he's his knee is a little dinged
I
now,
don't know
but
where he got the injury, but he didn't do well in those events.
he didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would love to see him start with a fervor at the start of the year. And he mentioned it too about having, like, there is, those, I mean, a lot of those 2%, those San Clemente kids are now on the CT, like
Mhm.
Griff, Crosby, and Cole, I guess. But there's a whole nother pack in the QS. And so I think it'd be fun for Kolohe to run with them, create content, make stuff, but then also be giving it a real shot to requalify.
Yeah.
Love to see it. How great would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to root for him, especially after liking him so much after that interview, but I don't think that I don't see him requalifying and I don't see him making the Olympics. One of the quotes that he said was, I cherish a smile on my daughter's face more than landing a full rotation every day. And that's obviously very, very earnest and sincere. Like you could see it in the way that he's talking, his life focus has shifted. And so part of me thinks, maybe you can be a more robust and better surfer because you have all these different inputs in your life and things that are informing your surfing, and you could just be more well-rounded and maybe unlock some new dimension that you couldn't when you were just singularly focused. But traditionally, singular focus wins world titles.
I mean, completely. And I don't think that Kolohe can necessarily has a world title in him, or probably for sure. I think I 100% agree with you that you're a family destroying freak like Kelly Slater to win world titles, right? Like you have no healthy relationships. Your daughter writes on Instagram that you have a heart of stone and things like that, right? That's who wins championships. But I think Kolohe could get on and could qualify for the Olympics.
You have to be in the top two Americans, and if you got Cole and Griff and those guys and
Yeah, but
John
yeah, I mean, John would be the one that's hard, right? But John is injury prone,
and
uh,
retirement prone.
and retirement prone, exactly. And so then it's Kolohe fighting against his stablemates, his San Clemente kids, and he's still the godfather of that crew, right? And so I think he knows that he can outsurf those kids. He knows he can outsurf Griff and Cole. And so, like, get him in the water, throw some dad strength on there. Boom. See you later.
I would love to see it. It's a great storyline. I would not bet money that that is the way things will pan out, unfortunately.
Well, let's make it happen. I feel we have a certain amount of gravitas here on the podcast. I feel we can speak this into existence.
Mm. One thing I did like, or another thing I did like, is his thought on he's always been trying to achieve more, and he felt like maybe he was falling short of his goals. So his quote was, "I did really good, so I should have enjoyed it more."
Yeah.
And so in hindsight, he's realizing, you know, I had a phenomenal 12 years lifestyle, but he also admitted that in the moment, he
He
didn't
was grinding.
necessarily enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a real tough thing, I think. Life in general, right?
Yeah.
Of looking back and realizing those years were epic. And I
Mhm.
was worried about finances, or I was, grinding, worried about this, that, or the other thing. When looking back, but again, though, if you enjoy in the moment, it's hard to keep momentum going if you're
Yeah.
just sitting there and enjoying it. Like, where I think we all should and could be more mindful and more appreciative and more grateful daily, and more gracious to each other. And all these things are good, but there also needs to be a little bit of that a burr under the saddle, I feel, to keep you going to try to make something great, right?
Yeah, totally. Um, we got a listener email that I think kind of relates as a follow-up to the Kolohe conversation. He said, David Lee, greetings from your favorite, perhaps only, lake surfing loser listener. Last grit, you mentioned Instagram's dark algorithm frustrating you, and what you were actually describing is a phenomenon known as Inshitification. The concept is super interesting, and if you have the time, energy, you should definitely read the Wired article that really introduced the word to the world. I'm going to summarize it right here for you. Quote, here's how platforms die. First, they are good to their users. Then they abuse their users to make things a little better for their business customers. Finally, they abuse those business customers to claw back all the value for themselves. Then they die. This is called Inshitification. While Inshitification originated with digital platforms, any sort of platform that has unique access to some resource can apply this. So my question to you and Chaz is there some aspect of surfing that is suffering from Inshitification? Maybe wave pools or maybe trips to certain regions? Is there any aspect of surfing that is purposefully shitting, uh, getting shittier the way that Instagram is? Maybe too heady or too boring for the podcast, but at least Inshitification is a great word. Beyond that, thanks for all that you guys do and the incredible content you put out. All the best. And of course, K work.
Love it. Thank you so much. I had never heard of that concept, but I would say, and it's fascinating. I'm going to go read, but I'd say wave storms.
In
That
what way?
we have poisoned lineups. There's tons of people out there catching way too many waves, and it's because of wave storms. And surfers get on them too, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's fun. Like, can't beat them, join them. Uh, they're awful boards. They're awful boards. And every lineup has tons of them, and we have just poisoned ourselves
I mean,
purposefully.
I thought surfing as a whole almost
Yeah.
applies this to this,
Yeah.
but specifically the WSL is the most obvious one. You know, professional competitive surfing, where you the core are the athletes that you're using. So that's who you're using, but then you're catering to the core, of course, because they're the only people who would care about it. But they've really started to cater to the business more than anything now. So they're holding events in countries that'll give them money to rather than putting them in the best waves in the world and catering to those clients. But then they're really kind of taking advantage of those business clients because uh, the numbers, they're juicing the numbers. The numbers aren't what they were. They've abandoned the core, so the core doesn't care. So the business isn't even accessing the demographic that they're paying to access. So now they're trying to claw back the core.
You know what? You want to know something controversial?
Tell me.
I am less negative. I'm the least negative I've ever been on the World Surf League this year.
Really?
I feel that they realized that Ziff and people at the top finally realized that, you know what? This isn't going to work. It's not going to work. There's no real way to make it work unless we sell it. And so let's just run it as a charity, kind of, Ziff, like this is your gift to surfing, basically. I feel they've been less, the Bonsoy brew breaks and the Bailey ladder leaderboard and all that is silly, but it's not abusive. I feel the greenwashing has been toned down a lot, that they're not like pushing, look at us, look at surfers saving the earth. I mean, they'll, mention it, whatever, while 500 boats are idling in Chopu's channel, talk about their, how they help the reef there. But I even feel the announcers, like the team, none of it is as, it feels like they've given up, to be honest. It feels like they've given up trying to sell this bill of goods and have just leaned into it. And let's try to make, I guess, as much as we can, but there's, it's not that much.
You are completely influenced just by the fact that you got good waves in a couple of events. So it makes the Bonsoy brew break go down so much easier. It
I
makes the
mean,
commentary go down so much easier because the waves are good. That's the only difference.
that's true. But what, I mean, we got Fiji coming up.
It, potentially a great event too. And
But so
I
that,
and I
but what
agree
if,
with you though. Like the events are much more. This has been a great year for the WSL because they've gotten good waves.
but what if, and they haven't got, I mean, it feels like only they got good waves the past two events, really, right? They had good waves
Pipe
at
and
Chopu.
Sunset. Pipe and Sunset too.
That's true. Okay, so they've bookended so far the year with good waves, which to your point, I suppose put the best surfers in the best waves and takes care of itself, right? But it does feel to me, and maybe I don't know why I'm feeling this, but it does feel like the World Surf League has is less evil.
Well, to help you make your point, they are running an event at J Bay. Obviously, J Bay is not on tour. They are running an event at J Bay this year just as a exhibition, a basic exhibition. Um, and they're inviting like I think Josh Kerr's going, Matt Wilkinson's going. Like they just invited a bunch of people who you would want to watch surf J Bay. And I think they're even doing it on you're allowed to ride kind of whatever you want. You know, there's no scoring. So people are going to be, Josh is going to be riding his quads or whatever he's riding now. So it'll be strictly for our viewing pleasure.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I think getting rid of the poison of Eric Logan, like he was the peak mistake, right? And I think that not everyone at the WSL is dumb. And we know people at the WSL. I know people who work at the WSL. I don't know them anymore, maybe, but who say there's a lot of good people there trying, right? Maybe the good people trying have finally won the room. This new CEO, for example,
Yeah.
haven't heard a peep from him. Did he do a stab interview or something?
No, I think somebody in Stab just wrote like an open letter to him.
Oh, yeah, boo.
Um,
But haven't heard a peep from him, which is exactly what the World Surf League CEO should be doing. Is he's not the story. He should be running the business like a CEO and not, out grandstanding.
if you're having a turnaround in your feelings towards the WSL, what was the takedown article on Mitch Salazar this week?
Oh man, I mean, because there's Mitch Salazar is the worst, right? When you're awful at your job, when you were awful at your job, he is awful at his job, right?
This is the equivalent. This right here is going to be a debate, the equivalent of the Grateful Dead debate. And I'm taking the stance of Britt Merrick by saying Mitch Salazar is not as bad as you think.
But he may be a wonderful guy. I don't know anything about his personal life.
I don't know him either.
He could be a fine father and a loving husband and a pillar of his community. Behind the microphone, that dude is terrible. He's a mix of ramming his own surf experience and like bad QS. What was he on the QS?
Yes.
That time, which is I don't care. Clearly, Mitch Salazar, you were not good enough to make it. I mean, you're good enough to get on the QS. There's a bunch of those. Like, I don't need to hear you talk about that. I don't need to hear you reference your time on the QS. When we've talked about this on the podcast, the code switching of because I speak Spanish, now I can't just say tortilla, even though I'm speaking in English with a regular American English accent. Once we get to tortilla, like that sounds, it's cloying and it's dumb. Like, so I'll give Mitch Salazar a chance to fix his bad stuff, right? I don't want him in the booth at all. He can go call QSs and fix it.
Well, the reason why this is the equivalent to the dead debate is it's a subjective opinion. Like, I don't think Mitch is as bad as you think he is. I think that you don't like Mitch or you don't like his personality or the things that you just said because of your own perspective. But I think that job there's two aspects to that job. There's a technical aspect of being able to call what's happening in the event. And then there's also the best of the best. The good commentators also have personality that they're infusing into the show. And, the best ones are likable by all. They're charismatic and they're charming and all this sort of stuff and they're still providing all the insights by calling the game. Mitch is doing a good job calling the game. Mitch understands the game. He understands air maneuvers, like the progressive side of stuff. He's able to provide insights for the audience in that aspect. So I think for what the WSL wants, he's really a good candidate because he's actually not infusing much personality at all. Like he's not trying to have a personality. He's just there to call the action like it is. And if you provide too much personality, the WSL, you run the risk of getting fired by the WSL because they want bland. So I would presume your criticism is just that he's bland. And I think that's a valid criticism, but it's exactly what the WSL wants.
I guarantee he will be calling the Rio event because I feel that's the B team event like El Salvador was. But as I wrote about it, that El Salvador event, I loved that B team in there, right? And seeing them all, like I feel Chris Cote is really come on strong. I feel he's doing a lot better, both as color uh, and as play-by-play dude. I feel I just have a soft spot for Kaipo at this point. I feel Kaipo should be calling all the action. He's so weird, and it's exactly what surfing needs. Surfing doesn't need a broadcaster who sounds like a broadcaster. That's part of Turpel's problem, is that buttery voice, I feel, is like the buttery emptiness. It sounds like you're trying to do something. Kaipo's weirdness is exactly what we need.
Yeah. Bring back Ronnie Blakey. Bring back Pete Mel.
I mean,
Ross Williams.
I like both those guys, but I want Kipes to be the face of the World Surf League, the voice of professional surfing. Kaipo Guerrero.
For the Olympics, get Kaipo in the booth for the Olympics. That's where it's going to be. I'm going to be interested to see if they just bring somebody brand new and fresh in.
I wonder if they're going to bring Todd Richards in.
I think Todd did say something about that, actually.
I mean, they use him obviously for snow, except they'll probably be using him for skate. And so Todd will be in Paris.
Yeah. Well, moving on, I was talking about relationship advice this show. Now we're going to rocket machine gun fire relationship topics at you.
Right.
Lots of feedback coming about baby naming. We were talking about giving Darwin a nickname, John's kid. And man, oh man, I got tons of commentary about that. It's weird, the type of things that resonate with the community.
I mean, but I feel that it's these kinds of things that it's the things hiding in plain sight that don't get talked about.
Because it's something that everybody deals with.
Everybody deals with it.
And it's a huge thing when you deal with it.
Anyone who's ever had a kid has thought out so much. I mean, maybe there's someone out there who randomly names a kid. But I imagine most people, you've really put thought into it.
Well, you're teeing up this email perfectly. This one comes from Surf Ads. C and DLS, your recent discussion of baby naming has come at a pertinent time in my life. Mrs. Ads and I currently are expecting baby number 2, and we find ourselves right in the thick of the naming process. Long lists create short lists, which go back to long lists again. When we draw from the multitude of reasons to not stick whatever particular name that we find, wife has also been critical of my level of involvement thus far, in that my only contribution has been the name Goody for the girl, which is rather problematically stolen from the Crucible, Goody being short for the common Puritan term good wife. So I thought, F it, why not crowdsource the work instead? Throw your best suggestions at me, and perhaps the grit can call baby naming rights for its first ever human heap.
I love it very much, Surf Ads. I feel this is a great responsibility put in the right place. I feel that our community here has never done wrong. I feel you and I get stuff wrong, sometimes purposefully even, to get the right answer out of we grow right answers like a garden here.
That's right. He says his wife's been critical of his level of involvement thus far, in that his only contribution has been the name Goody. So she's critical that he's only made one contribution.
So he's going to crowdsource it, and we're going to bring him more names here.
I don't think more is better, personally. I think his wife is unfairly critical, because all you need is one.
You need one, but except the one gets lost, right? Goes back to our beginning discussion about you're either advancing or you're retreating, right? So you got to throw a bunch out. And I feel that you've mentioned this before too, you mentioned it with our listener who was trying to get an extra surf trip out of his wife. He's going to have to put the names he likes that we crowdsource here into a tortilla of a lot of other names, right?
So you're saying throw a bunch of crap names as red herrings.
They don't have to be crap names. They have to be ones that you're not as invested in. And then you have the 3 or 4 good names that are like each one quality baked right into the fondue.
I think maybe we can just apply the same exact advice I gave the surf trip guy, which is subliminally plant the seed.
Okay.
Like he could have embedded good instead of just saying Goody would be a good name for a girl.
Yeah.
Uh, he needs to somehow implant that idea in his wife's brain.
It's a tough one though with a name like Goody,
I
right?
know.
Like
Yeah, that's a bad example.
but also like good names. Okay, so let's get into this here. With names. Okay, do you want to be nifty? Do you want to be trendy? Do you want to be like do you want the
Traditional.
name to carry gravitas? Do you want it to be traditional? Like there's a lot of things to go through here, right? And I
You
think we
you want all of them. That's
but
the problem with naming.
well, here's the thing. Let's then because I don't think you want trendy or nifty, right? Like I think we should lop those off right now. I think anybody naming a baby, if that name is trending, like
Yeah.
all those kids named Caden and Jaden and Braden
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
those right now, and no offense to any listener who has named their kid that, you got stuck. You got caught in a trap.
Yeah.
All those kids growing up, thankfully, there's a whole bunch of them, right? And so they will be like, what? When we were in school, how many, I don't know, bills or whatever would you have per class, right? None of them were trendy. They were all traditional, but each class would have 4 Chris's and 3 Johns and 2 Bills and whatever. The Jadens and Bradens will have that in their schools. There'll be enough of them where it won't be like, man, your folks got caught up in a real bad 90s trend, or 2000s trend or whatever. But so let's cut trendy off though. You don't want to name your baby. You don't want a Jade, do you?
Definitely not. No, you definitely don't want the trend. The problem is some people don't realize they're on the cusp of a trend.
Yeah, so you gotta really think about this though. You have to apply, is this going to trend? Is this trendy?
like everybody, Taylor Swift is huge right now. People are probably naming their daughters Taylor, you
For
know.
sure.
So
Which
we're going to see, but we don't know that until people start signing up for kindergarten or first grade or whatever, and there's 20 Taylors in the class.
but you can kind of guess, right?
You can guess, yeah.
You can kind of guess that if there is a popular person, that name will be being applied to children. So steer clear of popular names.
But there is the phenomenon in the surf world, or if you're a fan of surfing, of people naming their kid after surfers. And there's probably too many kids now named Dane, maybe even Kelly. But if they're having a daughter, you can go Caitlin and spell it the way that Caitlin Simmers. Caitlin's a cool name.
Caitlin's
Sierra.
Caitlin's okay, Sierra's okay, but again, we've talked about this. And I think this
I
was a
know.
no barrel
I
naming
know.
your
I know.
kid after a surfer. But if we're gonna name after a surfer, and if it's a daughter, I mean, I'm assuming it's a daughter, right? Because it's
He,
Goody.
he referenced, the
Goody.
name for a girl. So
What about, drum roll, please, Kolohe?
for a girl.
Mm.
And it means brother.
I mean, no, it means rascal.
Oh, rascal. Right,
Yeah.
right. Chloe. Chloe.
Chloe.
It's one letter off from Chloe,
I mean,
unfortunately.
people call Kolohe Chloe all the time.
See, I was thinking surf ads, right?
Yeah.
Ads is ADS. ADS is Adriana De Souza. If he's having a girl, why not just swap it out to Adriana?
Adriana. Oh,
Adriana.
like what a flex it would be to name her Adriana and then the middle name De Souza. Adriana De Souza ads.
I mean, that makes sense. It's all built into the name right there.
Okay, but
Adriana is a beautiful. I mean, here's the thing. I'm apprehensive to give them specific female names. I'm more interested in providing an outline for how they can land on a female name.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And also our dear listener will choose the name that actually is the right name, right? There is a listener out there listening right now who just has a feeling of what surf ads should name his daughter. And they will call or email and that will be the name, and it'll be great, right?
Or DM it.
DM it. Anyway, any way that you communicate. But the yeah, so more parameters though. I feel he's on the right, obviously my daughter is named Hemingway, and that was not because that wasn't even from me. It just was one of those, yeah, like other daughter would have been what at the time, 9 or something, 10 maybe, 11. Was walking down the stairs and just looked at the bookshelf and said Hemingway, and it just stuck, right? It was just, that was the name. There was no thought, there was no backstory. And oddly, Hemingway was not one of my favorite writers, but I've grown to appreciate his writing so much more, almost to the point where he's now is one of my favorites based upon just a journey, blah, 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 but whatever. But back to, I feel that literature is a good place to go. He's already gone there with looking at the Crucible, but I feel that literature, like what is your favorite, what is your best good book?
Yeah.
Going there.
Yeah, I like it. That's a really good direction. That text message that just pinged through is from Scott Hewlett, who has landed in Florida for the Florida Surf Film Festival.
Do you wish you were there, David Lee Scales?
You know what? I wish I was hanging out with those guys.
So true.
They plan it on Father's Day weekend, and it's like we can't disappear on Father's Day weekend. So that's unfortunate, but I just wanted to mention it publicly so that people's attention can be drawn to the Florida Surf Film Festival. By the time this podcast goes live, it'll be late to get there, but if you're anywhere in New Smyrna Beach, you can get there on Saturday, perhaps.
I mean, yeah, to go one of the days. I've never met a person who went to the Florida Surf Film Festival and said, I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, agreed. Good times all the way around. All right, well, Surf Ads, we will circle back and try to help you out. I don't know what month you are in, but hopefully we have time to help you get to the bottom of this.
You can name it ag1.com/surf. I mean, sorry, drinkag1.com/surf.
The A can stand for we're back on Adriano.
Yeah.
Adrian. All right, we got a Pros in the Wild coming at you.
Great.
Morning, David Lee, Scales, and Chaz. Listening to Surf Splendor interview with Shane Horan this morning, which was excellent, by the way. It reminded me of a Pros in the Wild that I've been meaning to put down on paper for years. I am sat in a Qantas lounge in the far north of Western Australia, waiting for a flight home to Perth after stint for work. So no better time to kill the hour. This might not be a true surf Pros in the Wild, but first, a little background. Like Shane Horan, I was a skater first, and I made my first skateboard in 1974 from old roller skates and a pine floorboard, which I acquired from a local building site. Things moved quickly during the mid-70s with skateboarding taking off, and then I started learning how to surf in Cornwall. The surfing was slow progressing, but skateboarding seemed to come easy. It took me on a whole new journey and influenced my entire life. Throughout my life, I've always looked up to and followed the person who is probably the best skateboarder of all time, Tony Alva. I rode his boards in the 70s and throughout the dark decades for skateboarding in the 80s and 90s, right through to this day. I even won our local skateboarding championships back in 1978 on an Alva board. I still have that trophy, and I refuse to move it from the display case in my lounge, where it lives with a pair of 1970s gull-wing trucks, much to the annoyance of my wife. My later life saw an opportunity to join our Commonwealth cousins down under, and we made the move south to West Australia following my career in gas and oil. We settled in Perth, and our son soon put down the skateboard and picked up a surfboard. One thing led to another, and before we knew it, we were drooling over the web pages of Alva Surfcraft, checking out his bizarre and wonderful designs. As you may know, Tony Alva was a surfer first and never lost the itch. His designs are retro, weird, and some resemble traditional longboards with the nose and tail chopped off. My son Spencer settled on a custom 5'10" by 21-inch square nose with a lovely light green and big traditional Alva logo proudly displayed on the nose. We set to work trying to justify a trip to California for our next family holiday, and then we would drop in at the Alva Surf and Skate Shop in San Diego. The order was in, travel plans with Qantas made, and us landing in LA, one night stopover, and then straight down to San Diego to pick up the board. 3 months later, we arrived. The experience at the Alva Surf Shop was insane. We met Tony's commercial manager, Mike Early, and talked for hours about the old days skating in the UK and California. We bought new decks, wheels, t-shirts, etc. We left the shop with shopping cart brimming over and a nostalgic glow. Mike said that he'd be in LA in 10 days with Tony Alva and to give him a call. We took this as a polite gesture and got on our way down to the beach. 10 days later, we were back in LA. We had a few hours to kill before our flight, so we thought that we would pop up to Santa Monica for some lunch. En route, the phone rang. Mike, true to his word, told us that he was heading to Dogtown Coffee to drop off some Alva merch, and Tony was with him. See you there, he said, and he hung up. Now, this took me a few seconds to digest. Tony Alva was actually with him. TA was with him. We quickly diverted to legendary original Zephyr Surfboard shop, which is now Dogtown Coffee, and pulled up over the road just in time to see Mike with a dreadlocked guy pull up in an old Chevy van and walk into the cafe with a handful of boxes. Heart pounding. I entered the cafe and Mike shouted over at us, "Phil, come and join us. We're just about to put our order in." I was in shock. Here I was, after almost 40 years of idolizing and following the most influential skateboarder of all time, and I was about to sit down in the original Zephyr Surfboards shop and have lunch with Tony Alva. I had died and gone to heaven. We sat around the table. I can't even remember what I ordered, but Tony was on banana bread with green juice, sadly, not AG1. We sat around for an hour or so discussing skate history, the UK scene back in the day, Tony's surfboard designs, and in particular, the Dogtown movie, as he was good friends with the late Heath Ledger, who was Perth's finest actor and played Skip Ingblom in the Dogtown movie. Tony also quietly spent time chatting with my son, Spencer, who was about 15 at the time. Tony gave him a few life lessons, including pointing out to the liquor store down the road, saying that place was my downfall. My wife retrieved a few skate decks from the packed suitcases, and Tony signed them for us with a few personal messages. I asked for a cheesy photo of the three of us, and Tony said, "Let's do it outside in front of the shop." I love this photo. We said our goodbyes and departed to the airport. After checking in, making it through the busy LAX departures, I looked over at my wife and she was just smiling at me and she said, "You're still in shock, aren't you?" "Yes," I answered, and years on, I still am. I must say, Tony was a true pro in the wild and spared some of his precious time to chat, reminisce, and joke about the old skate days in the 70s and the current surf projects. A true legend and a gentleman, and I will never forget that memorable lunch at Dogtown Cafe.
Wow. It's funny. I was thinking as you're reading, I always like these because you get them and read them. I get to go on the same journey as the listener does. It's the first time I'm hearing this, right? And I was thinking this morning, oh, I was really dreading this story turning bad. I was just thinking sometimes we just need a good story, right? A good story with a nice, happy ending. There's no arc to it. There's no, uh-oh, is this, that, or the other thing. But in my mind, I kept saying Tony Alva's going to be a dick. He's going to show up there and Tony's going to make fun of him and his son. And it will be like, and it's great because you meet your heroes and you just realize they're like us too. And, that was going to be a, a nice downer ending. But man, going all the way up, 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 up to the moon. Beautiful.
Is a palate cleanser for the Kalani Robb story last week. Right?
Totally. Totally.
What a sweet story. And I mean, what's sweet about it is knowing that you could be a grown-ass man still idolizing your childhood hero.
I mean, I've become, or was always probably so cynical. I'm trying to think of what person would you, if you could meet, would you just be like, who's alive today, that you would be like, wow.
I thought about that too, actually. As I was reading this, I am so cynical. I don't know that I have that person anymore.
How rude is that of you
It's
and I?
sad.
You and I have like polluted our own hearts so much. Sneering and mocking, making fun until we just killed ourselves. I'm trying
Yeah,
to think there's
it's
got to be somebody. I'm gonna give this a lot of thought this week, and we are going to discuss because there's got to be somebody. If there's nobody that you or I would be in awe to meet, then we really are as bad as people say.
we need to reset.
Yeah. Got to
We need a
find that
full
person.
reset.
Yeah.
I I I want to qualify that by saying I feel tremendous gratitude and also just like it's not even happiness, it's like satiated. I feel very, very kind of grateful, satiated that I have met or gotten to interview and gotten to spend good quality time with and maybe even call friends, iconic surf figures who I idolized when I was growing up. And so a little bit of the starstruckness has worn off in a very, very positive way. Like I'm able to actually call or text or meet or go surf with people who I did idolize at one point, and now that feels better than the giddy starstruckness that our listener is referring to. But I would like to think that beyond that, beyond our tiny surf world, that there would be somebody beyond that, I don't know, an actor or some business tycoon or something that would blow up my skirt, so to speak.
A business tycoon, you're saying. You would
I mean, I
just
don't know. I'm just thinking like, the Steve Jobs of the world. There are people who have invented not like a tycoon, but Tony
yeah.
Robbins, like somebody who's like done something crazy,
Give it
Steve
some thought.
Jobs.
Give it some thought. I'm going to give it some thought. We're going to come back next week and maybe it's nobody. Maybe it's nobody that would really like rock our world.
Is there a musician,
No. There's no musician. There's
an actor,
nope.
Brad
Uh
Pitt?
nope. Because acting is like fine, right? But it's a
Okay, let me go a different direction. Female, like the most beautiful, whatever your, most beautiful hall pass female would be.
nope. You?
I mean, I think that's one angle that I could take that I would be a little starstruck and also uh hard to find words if I met Penelope Cruz or like Angelina Jolie or somebody Natalie Portman, for
Yeah,
example. Yeah, I'd be like Emrata,
especially when
which
they
you've met Emrata.
I
I would
had
be,
had dinner with Emrata, sat
I
right
know.
next to Emrata and chatted the night away.
Those are people that I don't think it's the same starstruckness that our listeners talking about with Tony Alva because he idolized Tony Alva for Tony Alva's like talents and abilities and contributions and all that. The females I just named, I would be bowled over by their beauty, but I don't know that I necessarily. I mean, I admired Natalie Portman as an actress,
Yeah.
but never idolized her in that way.
No, I mean, it's a tough one, but I'm gonna have to give it a lot of thought because I can't picture, I can't think of somebody right now. I mean, I could think of a lot of people that I would really enjoy meeting.
Yeah,
It'd be great, but that I wouldn't feel like, yeah, this sense of exactly what the uh whoever the emailer, what was his name? Did he?
I don't think he left his name.
Okay,
I don't know if he
whoever,
wanted to be anonymous or not.
yeah, that feeling of like fulfillment from meeting somebody, right? It feels like
Right.
he was fulfilled, like it was additive to his life.
Well, he was beaming after going through LAX's security and departures, which nobody's beaming after that. And his
That
wife
is one of
called him
the
out.
that is what LAX is one of the worst I've ever been through, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's a prison.
it really is. I want to feel that way.
Yeah,
So I
maybe we
think,
can.
I mean, you said I need to think long and hard. I've already thought long and hard about this, and I can't identify anybody that would make me feel that way.
Yeah,
So I think the next step is a full reset.
to
I, just,
to yeah,
I need to reset my own cynical system, like to feel the way that my wife feels about Taylor Swift.
yeah, that's true. But also, maybe it's just not in the cards for us, and maybe us being jerky or not jerky, us being cynical is allows for this to happen, right? That if we felt good in our hearts, that that we wouldn't be entertaining. We'd be a Mitch Salad Bar.
I think this is all a preamble to a midlife crisis.
Well, I mean, what if that's what a midlife crisis is, though? If you like realize, you know what I need? I need a Harley Davidson. That's gonna fill that missing part of me is a Harley Davidson.
Do
And
you
so seeking that out, if even trying is what leads to a midlife crisis.
do you think you have a midlife crisis coming?
No, do you?
I think it was something of for men of yesteryear. I don't
Yeah.
hear a lot about them anymore. When I was young, I thought it was just like I think it was just like going to happen to everybody. Like it was a guaranteed thing that you were going to encounter in your life. That's how it was pitched to me, or I experienced it through movies and TV. But I haven't heard of anybody in my friend group having one.
I feel that not that life is more difficult now, but I think the life is a lot less secure now. I feel everyone feels that they're on real thin ice, and everything could like break at any moment. And I think if you're feeling that, which I imagine most people are, you don't have time or energy to have a midlife crisis. You're just trying to hold on to today, right?
That's a good point. We
I
can't afford
feel
a midlife crisis anymore.
you can't people cannot afford a midlife crisis. You got to be rich to like you got to be proper rich, like multi millionaire. You have to be fu money rich to have a midlife crisis. Then you could sit and think, what is it all about and why? I'm like waking up in the morning staring at my bank statement thinking, oh no, like that kind of panic
You
does
have
you don't get a midlife crisis doing that.
you can't you have to have more than FU money. You have to have F me money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna F myself so bad right now. I've got so much money. I'm gonna give my wife half. My kids are gonna hate me. I'm gonna F myself and I'm still gonna be rich.
Yeah,
You know what? Here
Jeff
comes that Harley and a hooker.
Jeff Jeff Bezos fully has F me money, and he that's exactly how you look when you have it. You're like taking weird HGH. Your love of your life is a freak. Lauren Sanchez is a freak. Let's
A
be honest.
plastic surgery freak.
Yeah, she's like, she may be the sweetest person on earth, but she's like 5 foot tall and a plastic surgery weirdo. Bezos is the same. He has his weird yacht. He's got that dude has to be absolutely weirdly miserable all the time. He effed himself.
Really did.
That's what happens.
Um, Speaking of plastic surgery, somebody sent me a DM, I think it was this morning or last night, asking if Italo got a new chin. And so I
Ooh.
I started pulling up photos. I was like, he does look like he got a big square chin, but he's cutting his facial hair different. Like he's cut in, he used to have like kind of a more of a beard, and now it's just a goatee that's very square and angular. So I don't know if it's just a visual effect, but I went back and looked at old photos. The chin looks different.
But also, the face feels like it's a kind of permanent thing unless you are going to do plastic surgery. Except let's look at like men who start working out in freaky ways. I feel their faces change, right?
Mhm.
Like not just getting the standard, getting wide face or whatever from taking steroids, but like so I wonder if Italo's regimen regiment, yeah, his has altered his
Regimen.
is it regimen? Yeah, his regimen, thank you. His regimen altered his face.
Could have.
Because also you got to think he's popping all kinds of weird stuff. I'm not saying illegal. I'm not saying performance. I'm saying performance enhancing, like not in an illegal way, but like for sure he's taking all kinds of supplements and this, that, and the other thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, but it's just his chin. Like I know what you're talking about with the head for Joe Rogan or Shane
Yeah.
Dorian or whatever. Everything getting bigger and bulkier. It's just the chin got square.
I mean, and let's be honest,
But it could just be again the facial hair. It is the facial hair that is angular, but underneath it, it looks like there's a chin that's also more square.
guess what kind of listener we have out there. We for sure have a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
We for sure have somebody who works in cosmetic surgery.
Yep.
Please, on the show notes today, when it goes up on surfsplendor.com, throw up a before and after with Idolo and let
Okay.
the expert. We won't force this expert to dig out these pictures.
Okay.
Put 2 ones up before and after and let the expert call in.
Okay. We'll do. Which segues beautifully to our segment, True Grit or Clickbait Switch. Quote, surfer Griffin Colapinto now sex symbol alongside actor Jeremy Allen White, musician Matt Healy as hot rodent men trends.
Hot Rodent Men. I read that headline. It's so funny.
It's so funny, dude.
Hot Rodent Men is really a funny thing, and it's totally accurately true. Like
I
when
know.
you look at those actors and the Simu Liu or whatever his name is, the Chinese actor,
Yeah.
he got included. He's not. I don't know why they included. He's like that was a weird one, and people called Variety or Hollywood Reporter or whoever did this, the New York, I get New York Times out on that one. But the rest of them are very rodent-esque, right?
That Barry Keoghan or Keoghan or whatever,
Exactly.
he is quintessential rodent man. Timothy Chalamet.
Yep.
And so this was so funny to me too. So I'm glad that you figured out a way to write a surf article about it. Because I was grateful. I was like, as a man, it's nice that you can be ugly and people find you sexy somehow, but we need to call it out for what it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
You
you can
look like
be,
a rodent.
yeah, exactly. So the
This,
branding it as exactly on the nose as it is, but still it's a hot rodent man. It's not
yeah.
just a rodent man. They're not trying to zing the guy to like bring him down, but they are acknowledging this group of dudes is not as traditionally beautiful as celebrities of the past.
Well, and let's be honest, also that the tradition does change. Like when you look at, of course, like, oil paintings from the 1300s, what was considered a beautiful woman then is very much not considered a beautiful woman now, right? I mean, beauty standards change, but it's weird that, yeah, if Rodent Men becomes the beauty standard, if like you have a little rat baby, if surf ads, I mean, I guess he's having a daughter, but if somebody has a little rat baby and everybody gets around just like you hit the genetic lottery. Look at that. Look at the sticking out ears. Look at the little twitchy nose. Look at the beady eyes really close together. Nailed it.
I'm wondering, can there be a hot rodent? Will hot rodent women ever trend?
I
Can that
don't,
be next in line?
it could, but I feel that beauty standards, I mean, let's be honest, it's all kind of merged together. The unisex, whatever, like everyone looking the same, men looking feminine, women looking masculine, all that. But like the standards of men and women when they're different, or they often are different or have been different.
Yeah. Well, I think you give the example of like, Zoftig Rubenesque women
Yeah.
who were more plump back in the day. That was all based on body type. It wasn't necessary. I feel like the face type has always remained true. What males find attractive about females, there's a certain.
I don't know. You look at the Mona Lisa, and I don't know that the Mona Lisa was necessarily supposed to be a banging babe, but she is the Ruben Salazar of women. She is so boring.
Who's Ruben? Oh, Mitch.
I mean,
Mitch Salad Bar. Um, yeah, it's interesting to. So there was a similar article that was written, like the Hot Rodent Men article, when I was a teenager, and it was commenting on how men have effeminate men are now more beautiful or then more beautiful. And they gave
yeah,
the examples of, Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio, and contrasting those guys with John Wayne
yeah.
of the prior decades, or Clint Eastwood or whatever. So it was like masculinity is out, femininity is in, was the article at the time. And I was like, that's convenient for us males. You can, because those Clint Eastwood dudes will still bag chicks too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You could still be either or. And now we've got the benefit of dad bod trending too. So you can either be ripped or not, or you could be looking like a rodent or like a handsome man, or, And it
It
all
really
worked.
is true. Variety is the spice of life. And it like having to have, Brad Pitt alone as the standard. So who's going to hit that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's an impossible hill to climb. Uh, but yeah, I mean, my young daughter like just thinks Timothy Chalamet is about the most handsome thing to ever walk the face of the earth. And I think, I mean, it's good she's 11, but thinking that little boy, like that, if I was, out when the zombie apocalypse hits, Timothy Chalamet will be the last dude who I would look for if I was a woman for any kind of protection or any kind of, male anything.
Or any kind of conversation or any like I completely agree with you. And I had that exact same example happen. Lauren's youngest sister, who's like, way younger than us, like mid-20s, um, referenced him as being like one of the hottest dudes. She thinks he's the hottest dude. And I looked at her so confused. And then I thought, maybe she's just uh, maybe she's setting low standards for herself. Like Timothy Chalamet is totally gettable, not him specifically, but like his doppelganger out in the real world. If you're dating, you can find yourself a Timothy Chalamet. They're a dime a dozen,
I guess not
Uh,
anymore though. If Timothy is the one, if he's now because I feel he is, right? I feel for women below the age of, well, let's say 30, Timothy Chalamet is absolute peak man.
But my point is, he is a dime a dozen. There's a lot of mediocre looking, skinny dudes out there. Like average build, he is the definition of average dude, and average is the definition of they are everywhere. And so I think Lauren's younger sister might have just been setting realistic goals for herself, where she's like, that is achievable for me. That is what I want to go for. And then I admired her for it. I thought, wow,
Right.
it's unreasonable to go
Want
looking for
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt and constantly be disappointed.
Look at Brad Pitt just getting raked too these days, getting rolled. All his kids are
Oh man.
dropping his last name. I mean, that's got to be any dad, all our dad listeners out there. Imagine your kid. Like, it's one thing to not communicate regularly with your folks or whatever, right? Or maybe not to have had, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
life is complicated. Uh, to drop your dad's name is like a real that's a
Indictment.
specific gut punch. That is like, I don't like you so much that I am ripping your name off of my own.
Seems like such a nice guy too.
Sure does. Oops.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Him and
there's a
P.
cost.
Diddy. P. Diddy too.
There's a cost of everything. The price for unbelievable handsomeness
I guess
is
so.
being hated by your kids.
I guess so. Yeah, that's brutal. I mean, you're right. It's worse, way worse. That indictment is way worse than actually going public and like saying, vilifying your parent in some way, because then it almost looks bad. There's a portion of it that looks bad on you, of just like, certain things you shouldn't air
Yeah.
publicly,
Yep.
but dropping the name is a silent assassination.
And nobody's talked about it on the record. Nobody's ever said, except for the old boy, whatever. But the rest of them are just quietly dropping the name.
Yeah. Brutal.
Ouch.
Brutal. Anyways, moving on from Rodent Men, let's go to commercial break, and then we will be back with Barrel or Not. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. All right, Chaz, we're back. I got to say, now that I'm looking at you, you got a little Rodent Man in you.
Oh, do I?
I think so.
I hope so. Now, good. Thank you.
I
Thanks for the compliment.
Thank you, question mark. I wouldn't have identified it previously, but since we're on the topic and I'm looking straight at you,
Rodenty. Yeah, I mean,
a little bit.
feral, like skinny, like dirty. I mean, for sure. It's funny looking through the surfer, once I saw it, I said, okay, which surfer is a rodent man?
Yeah, of
Griffin to
course.
me was obvious. Like he's a cute mouse, right? I feel like the ears that stick out, the who else is rodent like amongst our male surf?
Yago Dora.
I was gonna do Yago, except Yago. Yeah, you're right. Yago is. I went for Colapinto just because he's a bigger name, but Yago is the one I also thought.
Colapinto's more rodenty, but Yago lands on the rodent kind of side of the spectrum.
Colapinto fit well in with that group. I feel like when you
Yeah.
look at the picture of Jeremy Allen White and whoever was on the
Yeah.
four on the first, Colapinto was right there. If he was more famous, he would have been included in the Instagram slide.
Speaking of Jeremy Allen White, did you see the Iron Claw?
I haven't yet. Is it wonderful?
It's not as great as I was hoping that it would be, but it's very good. Yeah.
Okay, man, that stinking Jeremy Allen White. I mean, you think like some actors like him, you think, wow, he just came out of nowhere, but then you realize, no, he's like been a wonderful actor forever. Like
Yeah.
how many seasons was what was the
The Bear.
no, I mean the Bear is obviously phenomenal, but the what was the show with William H. Macy as the dad
Oh,
or
Shameless?
Shameless?
Was he in Shameless?
Yeah,
Oh, I never,
yeah.
Lauren loved Shameless. I've never seen an episode.
I mean, I've only seen a couple. I've seen like, it's one of those ones I'll watch on a plane if it's on a plane.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's one of those, yeah, those heavy burden shows that somehow feel like like it's a real commitment to start, right? And sorry, I don't have it in me. I know it's probably great. And I know that once I press episode one, season one, I will be enriched because of it. But
Yeah.
I just, the getting up and doing it, I can't do it.
There's too much now. I feel the exact same burden. It's like, I would rather actually, like, I'm glad that I have that in the stockpile for the future in case I'm ever injured and laid up in bed and I need to binge something. I'm glad that there's a bunch of things I can watch, but it's just, I've got too much. I'm oversaturated with
Those,
content.
but those are the ones I feel that going back to the greats, the ones that history has said, yes, this is good, that have proven themselves, right? Like was way late. I mean, well, I think we probably talked about it. I watched Deadwood like a couple years ago. Deadwood is phenomenal. Start to finish, it is perfection, right?
Yeah.
And that time, like that's not just watching something and wasting time. You're watching art. I feel
Yeah.
going back to the ones, it's way more valuable than staying current. But then if you don't stay current, you're lost.
Yeah, but there is something really warming about revisiting classics like that.
Yep.
Um, I look forward to the time when I go through and start from the beginning to the end, eastbound and down.
Oh yeah. But
I want
it was only the first season was really funny though.
I maybe I will chime in on that after I actually do it, but I've got that on ice. I come across an Instagram clip occasionally that'll have like a little clip, a snippet from the show, and I die laughing every
It's
single
so
time.
funny.
And I don't even want to watch the snippet anymore because I'm just like, dude, I want
Holding
it
it.
on ice. I want it to be a totally fresh laugh next time when I do watch it.
So funny.
And totally cancelable now. You know,
I
like
mean,
there's no chance that show would get approved now. I can't believe HBO even still has it available to watch.
I don't know. I feel though that we've talked about it, the cancel ice thawing, where
Yeah.
I feel people are able now to look back and say that was funny because it was offensive. It wasn't accidentally offensive.
No, it was intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I
Did
think people can
you
look back.
did you ever watch Louis
Of
CK's
course.
show?
Yeah.
I think that is one of the best series on television ever.
I mean, I used to during like the Louis when Louis was actually airing. I mean, that was another one. Louis, if you were on a plane that had Louis, I was so thrilled and happy knowing that because you can rewatch him and whatever. I thought Louis CK was the by far in a way, the funniest person on earth for a few years there.
Me
Like, I
too.
was like, how are you even born that funny? How do you
I
get, that's amazing to be that funny.
lots of trauma.
Ah,
He wasn't born that way. It was lots of trauma. But that show, it was so unlike anything I'd ever watched. And some episodes I'd finish without having laughed even once,
yeah.
but it was just poignant or interesting or whatever. But so many people I talked to who had tried to watch it hated it.
Yeah.
And I actually this week searched for it. I was like, I wonder, like, can I watch that again? It's not available anywhere. He pulled it from, I'm sure there's probably stories written about it, articles written about it, but he must have pulled it because you can't even buy it on Amazon Prime or anything. It's just completely not
It's
available.
gone. Louis C.K. or the show Louis is gone.
It's gone. I have a feeling he's keeping it in the archives and he'll release it in the future. I don't think he's like trying to scrub its history or anything like that.
I mean,
I
maybe the
think he's
network,
just
but I
what?
mean, he got hit in peak cancel culture. And so
Yeah.
maybe whatever network was like, no, we want, this guy is gone. We are erasing him. Like he's gone.
E-
Everything's gone.
Even if they did with things like that, where the network gets purges it from their archives or doesn't renew the license or whatever, you can still buy it on app through Apple TV or on Amazon Prime or whatever. But it's not even available on those things anymore.
Wow. Well,
So
good
there's
thing
got to
we
be a story
remembered.
behind it.
Yeah.
Anyways, barrel or nah, this is coming off of Britt Merrick's controversial maneuver of flashing his lights at the slow driver in the slow lane, pulling around them, possibly flipping them off when he drives by them, and then cutting them off and potentially slamming on the brakes in front of them. All things that you and I totally co-sign and approve of. But this barrel or not is adjusting your driving policy if your family is in the car.
Ooh,
So would you still do that? Would you still honk at somebody? Would you still flip somebody off if your wife is in the car and or your kids in the car?
I'm going to say it's no barrel to adjust because rage driving is best as a pure emotion. It is an uncontainable emotion. If you're rage driving as theater, no, 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 no. Like, and so with family in the car, without family in the car, with grandparents in the car, without grandparents in the car, with anyone in the car, you drive the same. And if you get enraged, also, I feel that rage driving is not just about you or me. Rage driving is about teaching a lesson to somebody else and making the world a better place.
Agreed.
This is an important duty. It is important to let that slow driver know, not here, not on my watch. And if you stop teaching lessons when your children are in the car, A, they don't get to learn that lesson.
Mm.
B, there's one person out there on the road who's clogging up, gumming up the works even further, thinking that it's okay.
This is a societal duty.
Yes, like
So,
it's not for us.
all right, cool. Because I have adjusted my driving style.
Bring it
Uh,
back.
but I'm going to qualify by saying I'm not a rage driver, but I drive with purpose, and that purpose is to get to where I'm going. And it seems to be there's people who are just don't give a crap and they're going too slow. They're not, they're sitting at a right-hand turn, not going, waiting for the light to turn green or whatever it is. And so I'm not rage filled, but I am going to honk the horn to let them know exactly what you're saying, to keep it moving for the greater good and for the flow of traffic. But after the Britt Merrick talk, I was driving with my wife in the car and somebody did something and I honked at him and she snapped back like, why do you have to honk at people? Why do you have to do that? And it's like, I told her exactly what you said. I'm like, because
People need to
it's
know.
my obligation to our society and our civilization
Yep.
to correct and right the wrong. I'm not trying to beat the person up. I'm not going to do anything to them, but I'm honking them to signal to
You are
let them
wrong.
know that they did something wrong, hoping that they will feel shame for the thing that they did wrong.
And change their
And
behavior.
exactly.
There's a plague that has descended upon Southern California that I don't know how to fix. And I would love listener feedback on this one, which is now buses in the carpool lane drive me crazy.
Yes.
This has just started to happen within the last, I feel, few years. You never saw a bus in a carpool lane, right? And I fully get it. If traffic is jammed, and the carpool lane is moving or whatever, it's not going to be moving that quickly. So bus, get in the carpool lane, whatever, right? You obviously have a lot of people. Yesterday, I had to drive up to LA. Uh, it was right at that time when traffic starts to gum, but it's still moving. Like traffic in the main lanes was moving bus speed, right? Traffic in the main lanes was going 55, 65, whatever. Carpool lane could have been going 80, except the bus was there going just as fast as everybody else and actually making traffic. Like, and people trying to, like, it drives me crazy, bus driver. What do you think you're doing? You're literally making traffic.
Crazy. The thing of it is, if you were able to get in a helicopter and go look over the traffic, it looks like an ant hill, where you can, like, ants have a very orderly way of doing things and they all abide by the societal rules. And if somebody gums it up, it's very clear. And that's what you would see from that helicopter view is, for whatever reason, the bus doesn't realize it. But if you could pull back a little bit, you would see there's a way to do this. And there's an orderly way to do this that would allow for everybody to get where they're going in a timely fashion. But if you step out of line, you ruin the entire order
For everyone.
for everybody.
And I think it's that people not necessarily, they don't know. It's the problem is they don't care. The bus driver does not care, right? He's like, oh, I got people going in the carpool. Boop. Like he doesn't think, okay, wait a second. There's more people here than in this world than are on my bus. So I see traffic over here going exactly as fast as I would drive otherwise. I see that people in the carpool lane will go a lot faster. I can look in my rearview mirror and see the stack of cars behind me is 30 deep. I can look out my front window and see nothing but space ahead of me.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe, it's just people have stopped caring, which don't care anywhere else except the road. Care on the road.
They stopped caring about everybody else, but they care more about themselves than they ever have before.
It's a real curse.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. Well, all right. I'm all worked up now. Let's move on. Back to surfing. Barrel or not, coming from a listener, asking people in the water for the time. Watch sponsors aside. Not wearing a watch surfing, but instead asking everyone around you in the lineup what time it is. My watch recently broke and I have felt very free while surfing without worrying about the time until that moment that I panic thinking, oh shoot, maybe I have to pick up my kid from school right now. So barrel or not, asking other surfers for the time.
Absolutely no barrel. You've talked about this, of course, giving the great advice. I think it was even a tool to live by of if somebody asks, then you add 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever to get them out of the water quicker. That's great. But on the principle of it, the lineup should be a time-free space for everyone, right? If you choose to wear your vairwatches.com, which I do, I wear my Vair watch when I surf because I like to look at the time. I like to see how long I've been out, but I don't want it broadcast, right? Time should not exist in the lineup for everyone. If you want it to exist for yourself, that's fine. But anytime somebody says, what time is it to somebody else, everyone now knows the time, which is unfortunate.
This violates rule number 1, which is don't talk in the water.
Yes.
That's it.
So true. It is
You know
so
what I mean?
true.
Just like, I don't know you. I don't need to know you. Don't make small talk. Don't ask me for the time. Mind your own business. That's it.
It is really, really true. Water talk is naughty talk.
Exactly. So rule number 1 already violated. Go get your watch broke. Go to vairwatches.com/surfsplendor. Save yourself 15%. Okay. Coming back to this topic again. Barrel or not, giving your kid a nickname. Coming off of your nicknaming JJF's kid, it makes me wonder. You've correctly acknowledged in the past that the best nicknames are the ones friends give to one another in high school or college. But as a parent, we have an opportunity to game the system. Can we prefab a nickname? Or would you be doing your child a disservice by sending them into the primordial social soup with a prefabbed nickname? Barrel or not, nicknaming your kids?
No barrel, unless it's a natural nickname. Charles to Charlie,
It's not really a
whatever.
nickname though anymore.
Exactly. But like if you're shortening their existing name, if you're trying to be funky, that thing reeks artificial, and the reek of artificiality will stick around your kid. Again, I think I brought this up. I cannot say the kid's name, unfortunately, because in case their parents are
Yeah.
listening, but parents named kid, nicknamey nifty middle name, normal first name. They call kid by nifty nicknamey middle name, and it's just fake. It's all fake, right? Every time I see that little kid, I think you're a fraud. You little fraud. You're a walking lie, man. And everyone else sees it too. You're going nowhere in life because the people smell your fake stink. That's what
So
happens.
I like the idea here of like gaming the system, but nobody sees their kid the way that society sees their kid. And so you are going to give them some polished version of a nickname that you are then hoping sticks and that the rest of society will buy into. I agree with Chaz. It's going to feel fraudulent. Everybody's going to identify it as fraudulent. That's going to stick with your kid is the fraud tag. So you have to let the cards fall where they may.
You
You have
totally
to
do.
let friends come up with a nickname. I mean, it's not that you even have to, it's just what is going to happen. So you might as well accept it.
And not everyone has a nickname, right? Like I mean,
I
I
don't.
don't have a nickname. Like
Yeah.
nobody ever calls me Slick or Slim.
Chaz is a nickname, by the way.
I mean, and I'll tell you what, guess who's a fraud? I gave myself that nickname fraudulently. I just wanted to write as Chaz for some reason. And so I started writing as Chaz. Who knows why? Probably made up lies in my head. I mean, my dad used to call me Chaz, but it wasn't enough to actually, he would call me Chaz from time to time. So you want to be like me? You want to be a fraud? You want to be just reeking of artificiality? Name your kid Chaz.
Yep, can't do it. Can't. So my dad, now that you mention it, uh, my dad used to call me Buzzy. I think it's because I had like a buzz cut for a period of time. And so he called me that, but only up to a certain age, not post puberty, certainly. So maybe up until 10 or 12 or
But
something
if
like that.
But if somebody would have heard your dad call you Buzzy, if one of your buddies and thought Buzzy, and then people would have started calling you Buzzy from that, that would have worked. That's how nicknames come from, I feel, proper ones, right? And you would be Buzzy Scales, and that would be you, and that would not reek of falseness because that
Right.
was a genuine, like your dad didn't prefab that nickname. He didn't sit up before you were born and think, you know what a cool nickname is? It's Buzzy. So I'm
Right.
going to name my son David Lee Scales and I'm going to call him Buzzy because I
Right.
like, and he's going to be known as Buzzy to others. That's where you get the fraud.
Yeah. It has to come from the kid's personality and actions and maybe appearance, rodent appearance or whatever it is. And then they get a nickname based off that. But there's no way that you can prefabricate it.
You can't fake it.
Which makes me wonder, is Buzzy Kerbox his real name?
There's no way that his name is Buzzy.
It's a possibility. Somebody could name their
No,
kid Buzzy.
I bet it's Vincent Ronald Kerbox and he had a buzz cut.
I saw a meme this week that was like, is there any other human on the planet named Sigourney or only her?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. It's got to be. It feels Scottish to me.
It
I bet
feels like a real name, except there's only one person on the planet whose name, like, it doesn't feel like a made up name.
is Scotland filled with Sigourneys?
Could be. I mean, if you're going to have to identify any country that might be,
Yeah,
Scotland would be right there.
yeah,
Wales, maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, Scotland's a great call.
Ooh,
Well,
speaking of back to surf ads, I got it. What's her name in I totally said literature, but uh, what's her name in Succession? What's redhead character's name?
oh, shoot. It's a
Uh,
good name.
it's a great name that's pronounced entirely different than it's spelled. There's a comedian who does a
Um,
whole bit on saying that name and then like trying to explain how the name is spelt to somebody else, and it's very, very funny.
okay,
Uh,
I'm looking it up as we're
yeah, this
speaking.
is
Oh, gosh. Shiv.
Siobhan spelled Sioban.
Shaboahan.
Shiboahan. Yeah. Siobhan. Shiv is the nickname. There you go, surf ads. Done and dusted.
Shiv.
Just don't wreck it.
We said
Like,
we weren't going to give you any specific recommendations, but we're throwing out Shiv and Sigourney for your
yep,
consideration.
you've got two right there, two bangers.
Really good
Siobhan,
ones.
and I bet Surf Ads, being Australian, I think that he is, probably does have some Gaelic in him. I think almost all Australians do. And so all you need is a dash of some ethnicity or culture or whatever in order to use that name, right? I'm sure there's enough Gaelic in you, Surf Ads, to use Siobhan or Sigourney if it is in fact Scottish.
Shiv is really good, dude.
It's a great name. It looks
Shiv is
cool.
good.
It
Looks
looks cool.
cool.
The
Sounds
nickname is
badass.
cool. All of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I might
Siobhan.
have to edit this whole portion out just to keep that name on ice for me to potentially use if we
If
ever have a daughter.
Exactly. And it's not like nobody would think you were being trendy. Nobody would think, like, Siobhan's a real name. Nobody would think that you based it off of the show Succession. They
Yeah.
would, yeah, the banger.
Or spell it like you said, and then call her Shiboahan.
Yeah.
That'd be fine too. People read it and they're like, hey, Siobhan, I like that name. No, it's Shiboahan. Okay. Get it right. Shib for short. All right. Well, hey, great show. Funnily, I had a phenomenal Tools to Live By phone call that I totally forgot to play, but we could play that next week. And it was, again, going to help people give relationship advice that will solve their potential crisis in their relationship. But they're going to have to wait an extra week.
Right. Well, they can.
Okay. Well, we do want to say thanks anyways to drinkag1.com/surf. If you loved today's show, that was because that's what I was on. That's what I
All the
drunk.
time, all day,
Exactly.
every day. Man, I had a late night up in LA, oh man, got in late, woke up early, drinkag1.com/surf. Back on the horse right away.
Right as rain.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, thanks to VayerWatches.com/surf splendor. Chaz, beachgrit.com @surfjournalist. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, man. We will see you next week. Until then.
Keep work.